Cyanide is one of the fastest-acting deadly poisons on Earth. A tiny amount, no larger than a grain of rice, can kill an adult within minutes. You may have heard about it in spy movies or detective stories, but there is something almost nobody mentions. Cyanide also exists in the apples you eat. So how does this chemical actually work, and why is the human body almost completely unable to fight back against it? The fascinating story begins now, right here on Simple Why. At the molecular level, cyanide is surprisingly simple. It is just one carbon atom triple bonded to one nitrogen atom. That is all. Chemists write it as Cn-. When that ion combines with hydrogen, you get hydrogen cyanide, HCN, a colorless gas with a faint smell similar to bitter almonds. However, around half of people cannot smell it due to a recessive genetic trait. The name cyanide originated in an accident at a paint laboratory in Berlin around 1706. A pigment maker named Johann Jakob Heinrich Diesbach was trying to create a red dye. He used potash contaminated with animal blood, and instead of red, he produced a deep and vivid blue color. That pigment became known as Prussian blue, the first modern synthetic pigment. Within only a few years, it had spread through art workshops across Europe. Decades later, in 1782, the Swedish chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele extracted a volatile acid from Prussian blue. He called it Blausäure, which literally means blue acid. In English, it became known as prussic acid. Today we know it as hydrogen cyanide, and the word cyanide itself comes from the Greek word kyanos, meaning dark blue. So the deadly poison you have heard about for years was actually named after a paint color. There is a common belief that any contact with cyanide means instant death. That is not completely true. In fact, your body already has a built-in defense system against it. An enzyme in the liver called rhodinase converts small amounts of cyanide into thiocyanate, which the kidneys can safely remove from the body. You are exposed to tiny traces of cyanide in food regularly, and your body is normally able to handle it without any problem. That enzyme works well with tiny amounts, but once cyanide passes a certain limit, the consequences become devastating and fast. The danger does not come from burning tissue or directly damaging organs. Cyanide targets something far more fundamental. Every cell in your body runs on a process called cellular respiration, the system that converts oxygen into energy. Deep inside each cell, in structures known as mitochondria, an enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase controls the final step of that process. Cyanide binds directly to that enzyme and shuts it down. Your blood still carries oxygen, your lungs are still breathing, but your cells can no longer use the oxygen they receive. According to data from the National Institutes of Health, the average lethal oral dose of cyanide is around 1.52 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. For a 70-kilogram adult, about 154 pounds, that equals roughly 100 milligrams, lighter than the weight of 2 aspirin tablets. So if cyanide shuts down cells that quickly, what does it actually look like in the human body? Breathing it in acts the fastest. hydrogen cyanide gas can cause symptoms within seconds. The first signs are usually headache and dizziness. Then come confusion and rapid breathing. Heart rate rises sharply, then suddenly drops. Within minutes, seizures may begin. At very high concentrations, around 2,000 parts per million, death can happen in roughly 60 seconds. Swallowing it is slightly slower. Ingesting potassium cyanide or sodium cyanide can produce symptoms within minutes to hours, depending on the dose. Lactic acid levels in the body rise rapidly because cells switch to anaerobic respiration, a backup system that cannot keep up for long. Treatment does exist. The leading antidote in the United States is hydroxycobalamin, sold under the brand name Cyanokit. It is essentially a massive dose of vitamin B12. The compound binds to cyanide in the bloodstream and converts it into cyanocobalamin, which the kidneys can safely remove. A standard treatment dose is roughly 5,000 times higher than the recommended daily amount of vitamin B12. You would think something this deadly would be rare in nature. In reality, it is everywhere. More than 2,000 plant species produce cyanogenic compounds, chemicals that release hydrogen cyanide when crushed, chewed, or improperly processed. The list includes apple seeds, cherry pits, apricot kernels, and bitter almonds. 100 grams of crushed apple seeds can release around 70 milligrams of HCN, enough to be dangerous, although a person would need to deliberately chew and swallow a very large amount. The bigger concern is cassava. Fresh cassava roots can contain up to 370 milligrams of cyanogenic compounds per kilogram. When the plant is not soaked and processed correctly, it can cause a condition called konzo, an irreversible paralysis of the legs. Hydrogen cyanide also appears in house fires. When synthetic materials such as nylon and polyurethane burn, they release HCN gas. It is considered one of the most dangerous toxic chemicals involved in smoke inhalation deaths. Today, global sodium cyanide production exceeds 1.3 million tons each year. The largest customer is the gold mining industry, which has used cyanide extraction methods for around 130 years. The process dissolves gold from crushed ore and remains the most efficient method available, but it also comes with serious environmental risks. In 2000, a dam failure at a gold mine in Baia Mare released 100,000 cubic meters of cyanide-contaminated water into the Danube River system. Beyond mining, cyanide compounds are used in electroplating, steel hardening, and pharmaceutical manufacturing. Hydrogen cyanide is also a key ingredient in the production of adiponitril, which is used to make nylon. And in a surprising twist, researchers believe hydrogen cyanide may have played a role in the origin of life on Earth, acting as a precursor to amino acids and nucleic acids. Cyanide is not going away, but the way humans deal with it is beginning to change. At the same time, environmental rules for cyanide storage and transport are becoming stricter around the world. Yet in a surprising twist, NASA's Cassini-Huygens mission detected hydrogen cyanide in the water plumes of Enceladus in 2023, and scientists believe it may have supported the chemistry that helped life begin on Earth. So the next time you hear the word cyanide, remember that it is far more than a spy movie poison. It exists in fruit, fire smoke, gold mining, and perhaps even the origins of life itself. Which part surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. If there is a topic you want us to explore next, let us know. And if we choose your idea, we will mention your name in a future video. Subscribe so you do not miss the next episode. Thank you for watching Simple Why.